What's going on, guys? My name is Christian and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a point of view drive and we're going to be discussing the comparisons between the C7 Corvette Stingray and the C8 Corvette Stingray. If you've been watching me for a little bit, you'd know that I had a 2016 Corvette Stingray and then I also have a 2019 Corvette ZR1 and just recently acquired the 2020 Corvette Stingray. As you can see here, I got the shadow gray metallic with yellow calipers and it's gorgeous. I love it. Check out my full review on this car. I'll probably have like a little tab up here or up here. I'm not sure where it is, but if you want to check out the full review and like walk around to this car. But we're gonna hop in the car and go for a ride. So the door handle is underneath this like black lip here, and there you go. And now we're inside. I still have the mats there because I don't want it dirty. I don't want to dirty the floor. All right. So we are finally on our way, not to anywhere in particular here, just kind of going for a little drive. We can finally get into talking about the comparisons and differences between the C7 and the C8. One thing that I've told pretty much everybody that's asked me about like how this one drives or what the difference is, this one definitely feels more like an exotic and less like a muscle car. Before I sold my C7 Stingray just only about a month ago, I took it out for one last drive after I'd been primarily driving this car, and the difference was pretty drastic. That one definitely felt more like almost like a go-kart. It felt a lot more raw. It felt more like a muscle car. This one feels a lot more refined, a lot more smooth. Feels more like an exotic in a rear engine car or mid-engine car, which it is. And whether that's a pro or a con is completely up to your own preference. If you want something that drives a little bit more like an exotic, a little bit smoother, this would probably be your option. But if you want something that's a little more raw, I feel like the C7 might be the way to go. Power delivery is pretty similar. The shifts on this car are definitely a lot better. They're a lot faster. With the C7, when you had the automatic for the paddle shifters, from the time between whenever you'd click the paddle and whenever it would actually shift was far too slow for that to be considered really a performance or quality transmission. The 8 speeds were nice, but the delivery, and I don't even know if it was just the shift times itself or just the electronics, the delay from the paddles to the shift, but it was pretty slow. This one is pretty much almost instant. I'll show you once we turn left here, but definitely a better transmission, and that's of course what you get with the dual clutch transmission. Driving wise, this one definitely is a lot more smooth. It feels a lot lighter. You get a lot more looks, obviously, being what it is, especially with the aero package that this car has. Whenever we talk about like interior though, I love the C7's interior. This one takes like a lot of the similar design elements as far as like facing everything kind of towards the driver. As you see here, the passengers kind of cut off a little bit to all the like climate controls. As you can see there, they're all kind of angled towards me. The screen is angled towards me, which is nice. The C7 was the same way, but this is even a little more so. You have a lot more bolster on the right here to block the passenger. I love the carbon fiber. I like the steering wheel. There was a video I watched about, oh, there's a new Supra over there. I don't know if you can see that red one. There's one video, I forget, I think his name was Casey, but he talked about how idiotic the steering wheel design is, being that you can't really place your hands at 9 and 3 with wrapping around the steering wheel completely because of the leather in the back. You can't like curl your fingers around it like this. It kind of stops right there. And he mentioned that that was a bad design for racing the car. But personally, I don't see this car being a track car. It doesn't feel like a track car. Similar to like if you see people with an Aventador or a Huracan, when do you see them track it unless they're twin turbo? You really don't. You see them driving around town going to dinner, and that's pretty much what this is. In terms of like extreme power difference from the C7 to the C8 Stingray, there isn't a huge jump. You definitely feel more of a jolt in your seat off the line, but in terms of like a 50 to 70 situation, there's not too much of a difference, because the power difference between the C7 and the C8 Stingray really isn't that different. I think it was like 455 or 460, something like that in the C7, and it's only 495 in this car. So you really only have like a 30 to 40 horsepower difference, which isn't that much. It's not a noticeable difference, unfortunately, but you still have a little bit more power. Overall, I prefer this car. I love this car. I have 1,228 miles on the car, so I haven't been driving it too much. I've had it for, I think, about 3 months, but due to the whole pandemic situation, I wasn't leaving the house pretty much at all for a good month or two. So as soon as I got this, I was pretty much parked and never touched. So I really don't have any complaints. Evidently, there was one recall. I took it in for... What did I take it in for? Oh, I took it in to get the aero package on it. Apparently there was one recall, something with a bolt in like the driver's side door, where if the door were to be hit or impacted, the bolt would poke through the door or something. I'm not sure. I don't know how exactly they remedied that, but it was nothing major. But I got that recall taken care of course, for free, because this car is still under complete warranty. The infotainment screen is great, far more responsive than the C7. Just super responsive. It almost feels like a phone, which is super cool. The C7 was a lot more delayed. The only thing I really don't like about the infotainment is the home button and the volume controller all the way over here on the left, which is a bit of a stretch. I would have liked to have seen them more here, because whenever you're driving, you can't even see them. I'm sitting up elevated in the seat right now just because of the camera angle. I wanted to get it above the wheel, because it's mounted on my chest, not my head. But overall, I love the features of this car. I like how it has, if you get the option, the dedicated button for the front cameras right there. That's super nice. On the C7, you would have had to scroll through your pages and click the camera button on the screen, which is on the last page, which was kind of annoying. Again, there was the delay with the camera button. The camera quality on these cameras, the rear camera, the front cameras, and the camera over the engine compartment is just leaps and bounds better than the cameras on the C7. The C7, after getting in it, I never really noticed until I was driving this car, and the quality is just not there. It's just kind of hard to see. With these ones, they're almost completely clear. I can't turn the camera on at the moment while I'm driving, unfortunately, but I don't know if the PDR would record camera. No, because I don't have the memory card in it. This also has the PDR personal data recorder, where the camera is kind of up here in the mirror. C7 also had that option. Instrument cluster is a lot cooler, and as you kind of scan through your different modes, the screen changes just as it did in the C7, just a little bit different, a little more of a design update. You have your track setting, you have your sport setting. It also changes the times at which it shifts and the exhaust note. Yeah, there's your touring, and then of course you have your Z mode, where you can configure all of the little things that you want. So if you wanted a particular steering setting and a particular exhaust setting, you can configure that, so you have the option to choose what you like. Still has the super cup holders, which is super nice. I guess the only flaw that I find in this car is the amount of storage in the actual cabin. So the C7 was great, because you had that big hatch in the back that was directly connected to the cabin. So if you had something in your car, you can just kind of toss it behind you and it goes instantly into the trunk, which was nice. Here, I found there's really not any room to put anything. You have your two side compartments on the left and right, and then you have your tiny center console, and you have your glove compartment, which is smaller than the C7 as well. So there's really not a lot of storage room in this. In the C7, you were able to hold a complete full-size suitcase in the back, in the trunk. This one, not so much. You can get away with maybe 2 backpacks in the back, and similarly in the front, maybe 1 or 2 backpacks in the front. C7 definitely had a lot more storage, but these cars aren't necessarily made for hauling the family around. Still, you got your 2 seats. Roof comes off just as easy, stores in the back just as easy, which is nice. The camera, or the mirror up here, is amazing. I don't know how well you can see it in the thing, but if you put it down like that, it's a regular mirror. put it up, now it's your camera mode. So that uses the camera above the engine compartment, which is an awesome feature in my opinion. So overall, I would say that this car is significantly superior to the C7. It's just a lot more, I want to say it's a lot more just smooth to drive. It feels like you get the looks as if you're driving an exotic, if you're interested in that. If you're not interested in people looking at you, I totally get it. That's why I went for a little more of a subtle color as opposed to the bright orange ZR1. Well, just a little too bright, a little too standoffish. That's why I went with the gray this time with just the yellow accents, which I really like. I'm curious to see what we'll see in the Z06 variant of this car. That will definitely be a more track-oriented car, put down a lot more power, have a lot better performance numbers, I'm sure. And I'm eager to see what it even looks like with probably the wider wheelbase. I'm assuming different wing, different like body lines and such, similar to the C7 Stingray and the C7 Z06. And the ZR1 variant will be extremely amazing to see, provided they come out with it. I'm assuming they will. I'm expecting that to be at least in the 4-digit power figures. If not, I'd be genuinely surprised. But yeah, so overall, I mean, you feel free to make your own opinions about this car, but coming from an owner that's driven this 1,200 miles now and going to be driving it probably till this car dies, I'm super impressed. There's nothing that stands out to me that was a major design flaw or something that I extremely dislike that I just can't stand about the car. Everything's placed exactly where you need it to be. Everything's comfortable. You can drive this car for hours and hours, and it's just comfortable. It's truly the epitome of like a sports car daily driver. You could drive this thing every day and have no problem. And it is my daily driver, and that's the main reason why I got this as a replacement for the C7, because I loved that car so much, and I'm glad I was able to sell it to an owner or sell it to someone that would appreciate it just as I have appreciated that car, because that was one of my favorites. But this one definitely is something. Now, if you were to ask me to choose between the two Corvettes that I own, between this car or the C7 ZR1, unfortunately or fortunately, the ZR1 still takes the cake. The just raw power behind that car and that engine is just something else that I really can't even explain. It's the scariest car I've ever driven, even comparing to the Aventador. The Aventador handles the power a lot more. The ZR1 just feels crazy, like someone's stuck an 800 horsepower engine in a Stingray chassis. Definitely a lot scarier. It's just so much fun. The car looks great, performs great, sounds great. The exhaust note is amazing. I guess that's another thing I really don't care for in this car. The exhaust note is kind of weak, kind of quiet. I had full Cook's headers and a axleback exhaust on my C7 Stingray. This one I haven't done anything to quite yet. Who knows if I will. But it's definitely a lot quieter, which I don't entirely care for. I like a car that's a little bit louder. Maybe I'll remedy that sometime in the future, but not at the moment. So yeah, those were pretty much my opinions of the comparisons between the C7 Stingray and the C8 Stingray from an owner's perspective. If you have any comments at all that I did not cover in this video, please leave them below. I'm going to be replying to pretty much every single comment I see from here on out. I actually went back last week and replied to a bunch of comments on the last video I posted. Also, let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see. I want to be posting more. I actually have another trip coming up with Rob Ferretti, or Super Speeders Rob, if you follow him on YouTube, and I think David Patterson, or That Dude in Blue, is coming as well. So that should be fun. That's coming up here in a couple of weeks. Going to be a trip around the Northwest US. We were going to be going to Canada, but the borders are closed right now due to the pandemic. But I'm shipping the ZR1 out over there, so I'm going to be driving that. It's about an 1,800 mile road trip around the Northwest. We're going to be visiting national parks and stuff like that, so definitely keep an eye out for those videos. I'm going to be trying to do my best to document that. But yes, that's pretty much been it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, comment, even subscribe if you guys want to. Hopefully more videos coming here soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.